Hello everyone, my name's Jo and I work in the social team here at AAT. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We're really excited for today's session as we all know how important it is to land a job using your AAT qualification, and for the majority of you choosing to study with us is to start your career in accountancy and finance. We're super lucky to be joined once again by Beth and Rachel, both of which are AAT qualified accountants and both working successfully in the accountancy field. You're going to have a great opportunity to ask Beth and Rachel any questions that you might have on career support. It's going to be coming from two different perspectives, one that's running her own accountancy business and the other working in a successful accountancy firm. They were both once in your shoes studying AAT and hoping to find a career in accounting, so they'll be able to give you some great relatable advice. So most importantly, we want to make this session as interactive as possible for you. So please, any questions that you have throughout the session that you would like to ask our guests, please just pop these into the comments box and we'll aim to get these answered throughout the session. Also, there's going to be lots of links that we're going to be referring you to. So to get hold of these links, just type into the comments box links. So LINKS into the comments box, and then you'll get access to these through your messenger. Okay, so let's kick off and let's bring Rachel and Beth in. Hi Rachel, hi Beth, thanks so much for joining us again. How are you both doing?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Good, thanks.
Good. Brilliant. So you've both got some great career insight to share with our viewers, so super excited for that. Let's start off with a bit of an intro to both of you. So Beth, do you want to give us a bit of background in terms of where you're working now and a bit about your AAT journey to how it got you there?
Absolutely. Well, hello everyone. My name is Beth, as Jo said, and my AAT career started about 4 years ago. When I left school, I went straight into retail and had a bit of a retail career first, working there for about 7 years, and decided that I needed a change and retail wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And when I left school, accountancy was something that I considered but didn't necessarily take the route for, so I looked into that again. I actually found at my local community centre I could take AAT level 1 just to try it out, test the waters, make sure that it was something that I was interested in, and it was. I then enrolled at my local college to take level 2 while still working in retail. And then midway through my level 2, I was successful at securing a role in the firm I'm still with today as a bookkeeper. And once I finished my level 2, they saw that I was keen on carrying on with my AAT qualification and enrolled as an apprentice with my firm and went on to complete my levels 3 and 4 and qualified last September.
Amazing, thanks Beth. You're going to have loads of amazing tips to share with our viewers, so hold on tight everyone. Rachel, let's hear from you too, please.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. I am really excited to be with you today and excited for your questions. So the juicier, the better. That's what me and Beth are here for. So my name is Rachel and I am the founder of Accountancy. So Accountancy is an online platform. So I run a really growing Instagram platform, and I've just launched my YouTube channel, which is specifically for accountancy students and AAT students. So we've just launched a video called How to Become an Accountant, and like how to land your first job in accountancy. My AAT journey, I started with an apprenticeship. So I did my A-levels and I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to university or to do an apprenticeship, and I chose the apprenticeship route. So I started an apprenticeship with my local council, actually, in their finance department while I was doing AAT. So I went from an apprentice and then worked up to a junior and then a senior and then a manager. And then, 12 months ago, launched my own business. I went into business with my fiance. So we are life partners and business partners. And our practice has quadrupled in size during lockdown. And we have the pleasure of working with incredible, exciting clients. So really excited to answer all of your questions today.
Thanks so much, Rachel. So we've got some questions that are coming in already, so brilliant. Before we crack on to those questions, I guess quite a good area to start off with is quite a lot of students might think that they don't have transferable skills, which they may already have that they've gained in other sectors. So like being good with numbers is not the only ability you need to work with in finance, which I'm sure you both got some insight into that. So there's areas of like, if you've worked in customer support, retail, there's any kind of like key areas such as like communication skills, that's great also to put on your CV. Can you guys relate to any of those? Is there any ones of which skills that you use which aren't like straight to your head accountancy role based?
100%. So I think
too much insight to share.
Okay. Yes, it's worth saying that like while our accountancy practice has grown during lockdown, we've actually been hiring members of staff for the first time, and we've been hiring AAT apprentices. And we've actually hired people that have no previous accountancy experience, are doing the AAT, and are just hustling. So I think it's really important to say that you can learn to be an accountant, and actually there's a lot of skills that surround the industry that you can't teach. So I can't teach someone to be really excited and passionate. I think problem solving is a really good one that isn't specifically numerical, but being a problem solver will really, really help you get to the answer much, much faster. And to dig into that bank reconciliation where you can't find that 10p, it will really, really help you. So, and I think it's really important to give people the confidence to understand what skills businesses and small businesses are looking for. So if you do have customer service experience, that is a fantastic life skill that can be applied to any job. So I would really encourage you to promote that on your CV. But I interrupted Beth, so I'll let her jump in.
Well, actually, it follows on perfectly to what I was going to say, because my personal experience, obviously working in retail, is customer facing 24/7. And that customer service part actually is quite an important skill and something that can be developed in your role in the accountancy world. Depending on where you work, in most cases, you will be speaking to a client or a customer or a supplier. So having those communication, customer service skills are a huge thing. It's definitely not always about maths. I remember I went to my first accountancy interview and I said, yeah, I really, really like maths and I'm really good at it. And they said to me, that's great, but it's not essential. So that's something that, you know, people shouldn't be afraid of if, you know, they're interested in accountancy, but maths might not necessarily be their strongest skill, because there are so many other things which are important as well and transferable and things that you can develop on. So don't think that going into an interview, you have to be the best at this skill or that skill or all of the skills, because it's things that you can develop along the way.
Yeah. I would definitely say as well, like as an employer, we definitely value attitude over qualifications. So even if you got a B or a C at maths at school, don't let it put you off. Attitude is so much more important than your qualifications.
We recently did a meme on our Facebook page, and it was about the myth that all accountants are good at maths, and that got received very well. So I think that's a common agreement across our students. Okay, so we're getting lots of questions in, so let's start cracking on with these. So let's start off with, let's pick one at random. Okay, so Josie Taylor, she has asked, what are your tips for applying for jobs when you have no experience? I'm studying level 2. So Rachel, do you want to give some insight into that?
Yeah, of course. So I think first things first, your CV will be a really important part of that. And I think for some people that don't have experience, they might feel a little bit shy or embarrassed around their CV. And I would really encourage you not to feel that way for all of the reasons we've just said. But there are some practical things you can do to elevate your CV or make it look really attractive to employers. The first thing is the length of your CV. Really try not to make your CV longer than 2 pages. Remember that the person looking at your CV will be looking at quite a few CVs, so short, sharp and punchy is really, really good. Also, if you don't have experience, it is okay to put your qualifications ahead of your experience on your CV. So when someone's reading your CV, you generally want to go from the most relevant to the least relevant. So if you're doing AAT level 2, put that at the top where they can see it. Like, don't let them zone out and then see AAT. Put it right at the top where you want them to see it. So if your qualifications far outrun your experience, put that further up your CV. And then in terms of practical things that you can do on top of, I know AAT do fantastic exposure to actual accountancy softwares, and that's a really good thing to put and write about on your CV. But from a practical aspect, if you think about why a business owner or an employer wouldn't want to hire someone with no experience, it's basically because we think it's going to take a really long time to train you. So some practical things that you can do are go online, look at softwares like Xero, QuickBooks and Sage, and you can actually do their online training completely free of charge and become an accredited Sage, Xero or QuickBooks partner and a partnered accountant. And again, you can put their little badges on your CV and say, I'm AAT level 2, I'm Xero qualified, QuickBooks qualified and Sage qualified. This is why you should hire me. And again, you've still not got any practical experience, but you've completely flipped your CV from someone that doesn't have any experience to someone that I would like to give experience to.
That's great advice about doing the Sage and Xero. I think any things like that, especially that you can get for free, is amazing to put on your CV. And just one thing to follow up from that, all AAT students and members get access to free Excel e-learning training. So you can access it on your MyAT account. This is all for free, and you can use that as well and add that onto your CV. So it's any skills that you can get for free or it's included within your membership. They're all going to be valuable to you. Beth, so obviously you got into accountancy coming from a completely different sector, so in retail. How did you find it trying to look for work in a completely different field with no experience?
It can be awfully time consuming, and a barrier which I've seen a lot of people come across is just people not looking for experience, or just, you do get a lot of employers who just ignore CVs and applications sent in. And my advice for that is just try not to be demoralized by that, because you will have your breakthrough. It may not come immediately, it may take a little bit of time, but just keep plowing away. You might apply for somewhere and you might just not have been right at that time, but come back to that 6 months or a year later. That might be the right time that they're looking for somebody and they're looking for you. So I use various different platforms. I used online. I spoke to a recruitment agent, and eventually you do have your breakthrough. Sometimes you find yourself finally speaking to the right people. So it's constantly keep going at it, and don't give up just after a few first declines.
Great advice. Thanks, Beth. Everyone, you've also got access to your My Career section on your MyAT account, which has got accountancy vacancies on there, and also some tips on CV writing. There's loads of different resources, so definitely check that out. I saw quite a good one here. So we've got a question in from Nikki. So she says, I feel like I'm in the wrong generation. As a 50-something, I'm 3/5 through level 2 bookkeeping and looking to rejoin the workforce after being at home, being a home mother. I'm wondering how best to start getting back to working in bookkeeping. Beth, did you have any tips for that?
I think it's very similar to before, and my advice would be try not to worry about your age, because if you are the right person for the job, then you will get the job. Obviously, we have acts in place to protect any sort of discrimination. So don't ever be demoralised or think that you can't start just because of your age. People start, especially AAT, at all sorts of ages. And I have colleagues who have started later than the majority of people. So there's never a wrong time to start. Similar to my previous advice is just keep going for it. Keep applying, and when the time is right and what is right for you, then that is when will be best.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Beth. We had a question that came in through our Instagram page, which is quite a good area to look at. So this was from Bernadette, and she asked, what opportunities do I have if I'm holding my level 3 AAT qualification? She says that she's very unsure about everything. Rachel, did you have any feedback in terms of what she could do with her level 3?
Yeah, of course. So I think when I was at level 3, I was working in a top 75 company within their outsourcing department. So I was doing lots of bookkeeping, management accounts, VAT returns, and then I started working towards level 4 while I was there too. But even just being in level 3 landed me that job. I did have a little bit of experience, but yeah, so level 3, I was working as an outsourcing assistant, and before that, I'd worked as a junior accountant as well. So in terms of like job title, there's definitely sort of jobs that you could be searching for and looking for. But if you've got level 3, I would really encourage you to absolutely smash it, keep going, get level 4, get to be a full member, and then utilize all of the resources of being a full member. But I think that's what the question was asking, right? Like what opportunities?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
And also we've got after anyone who's finished their level 3, so that's either in bookkeeping or accounting, you can go ahead and get AAT QB status. So that gives you the designatory letters after your name, and it helps advertise your expertise to employers. So I think a lot of students still aren't aware that they're able to get this. A lot of times it's covered under your membership fee. So in most cases you don't have to pay anything up front for that. So that's something that you can get with a qualification that you would have already done. So there's lots more you can do with your level 3 before you're able to get the full membership. I saw a good question here. Got lots coming in. Brilliant. Thanks everyone. Keep them coming. So I think there's a few about people starting their own business. So we'll come to those in just a bit. Obviously Rachel will have some great advice in terms of being a business owner. So let me just have a look. Sorry, just losing that one. A lot of the questions are coming in about gaining experience. So I know we've touched a bit on this already, but they have spoken about apprenticeships here. So Mina has said, how do you get experience when you have no financial support and kids? Apprenticeship is a very small option to survive. Rachel, feedback?
Yeah, of course. I think as well, obviously, the apprenticeship route isn't the only route. There's also things like student finance or getting an employer to sponsor you, which I think before I got my first job in accountancy, I actually didn't realise that within the accountancy industry, and even if you're working in industry or practice, it's very, very common. I'd say it's almost unheard of that an employer wouldn't sponsor you. And by sponsor you, I mean that they would pay you a salary and they would cover your training costs. So I'd say it's pretty unheard of. I'm sure Beth would agree, like that you would be working in finance, working towards a qualification, and your employer actually wouldn't be paying for it. It's pretty unheard to get an employer that would expect you to pay for it yourself. So I really encourage you to. And sometimes job adverts, because it is assumed for a lot of people, sometimes in job adverts it might not say study support. So if you are making an inquiry or contacting the firm, just ask them about study support. Like, that's not rude. I would expect people to be asking me about study support. So definitely mention it. But also, if a job advert doesn't say that it comes with study support, a lot of the time it will.
And obviously, Beth, you're working in a firm which you started, like you said, through an apprenticeship, and you worked your way up through the AAT qualification, completed that, and then you're in the company now. And you came in there with no prior experience directly in accountancy either. So it clearly shows that you can get into that. An apprenticeship is one option. It obviously might not be attracted to everyone, but it is a great place or a great thing to at least think about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think in my circumstance, when I first joined the firm, it wasn't as an apprentice. It was only when I expressed my desire to carry on with AAT that it was something that the firm and I talked about together and do my AAT through the firm. So, sometimes it's a case of getting your foot in the door. It could be as small as starting in an admin role. I actually have a colleague, a friend of mine, who was in an admin role for a few years. And through talking with us and seeing the work that goes on around the room, around the firm, she then expressed an interest in AAT, and she is now an apprentice currently going through her AAT qualifications. So there's so many options. So while, in that instance, it's not straight away going in doing the accountancy role, it's a foot in the door, you're with the firm. And where we were saying about, if there's adverts and it doesn't specifically say study support, have a conversation with the firm. Don't completely write it off, because while they might not have it to begin with, it certainly a discussion that you can have, and discuss why it's valuable for both yourself and them as to why they should give you the study support. So just because it's not there, don't completely write it off. Ask the questions. The worst case scenario they say is no. And then you continue on your search.
I would say as well, if it's okay to just hop in, that with apprenticeships, I think a lot of people assume that the employer will be paying the apprenticeship minimum wage. And that's definitely something that we've tackled within our firm, because I trained as an apprentice and I was only paid the minimum wage, and I actually ended up having to have a couple of other jobs as well as my Monday to Friday 9 to 5 just to support myself, and it was really, really difficult. And so now as an employer, the fact that you are an apprentice and that you are studying doesn't make you any less valuable to me than anyone else. So we employ people as apprentices and as part of the apprenticeship scheme. But we pay people absolute market rate for their role. So if someone was studying and someone wasn't studying, it wouldn't change the salary. So I would say we are out there, really like good employers that do value the role that you're doing and don't use that as an opportunity to pay you a minimum wage are out there. Keep looking.
Thanks, guys. We did a really great Q&A session with you both just a couple of months ago, all about apprenticeships, because we're all really passionate about it, as you can see. So if anyone wants to watch that, it's over on our Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com /your AAT /live, you'll be able to find it in there. And they both Beth and Rachel go through all the benefits of what apprenticeships can offer. A couple of people have asked about the courses that you mentioned, Rachel. I think the Zero and Sage ones. We'll pop a link into them. I'll put a link into the comments for those after. I'll grab them off Rachel to make sure that you guys have got it. So we've got a question here from Chris. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to give much feedback on this. I'm not sure exactly how you secured her roles, whether it was through recruitment agencies or not. But Chris asked, would you recommend speaking with like a more specialised accountancy recruitment firm?
It certainly wouldn't hurt. If that was something I never came across, but if you know of a specialist recruitancy agency and you think that might help you, absolutely go for it. It's just another thing to help you along the way.
Yeah, I've actually used an agency before, and my business partner has as well. And finding a recruitment agent that actually specialises in the industry can really help you, as opposed to going to a recruitment agent that actually doesn't understand the industry. So you can chat to them about things like study support and say, I actually am not in a position to pay for this myself, and they'll know what you're talking about. So in terms of meeting your needs, firstly, in what you're looking for, they already understand the planet of accountancy, because it is its own planet. So they'll be able to help you, but also they have really, really good contacts and references with lots of big accountancy firms that could actually not be actively hiring. And if you're a standout candidate and you can get a really good relationship with that recruiter, they might be able to put in a good word for you, even if the company's not hiring, because big accountancy practices always have something in the pipeline. So I definitely see it as a networking opportunity. Really try and become pally with the accountancy recruiter and make sure they remember you.
Thanks, guys. Also, just to recommend to our audience as well, head over to aatcomment.org.uk. There's an absolutely brilliant section on career support on there. They've recently released 4 blogs about 4 big, great companies that are currently hiring. So I definitely recommend people to check that out. So let's maybe now go on to, so I've seen quite a few questions now which are coming through about people starting up their own business. So Louise has asked, how can I make the transition from gaining an AAT qualification to starting up my own business? She said she doesn't feel like she has any confidence in doing so. So yeah, Rachel, if you can give some maybe feedback for Louise on that one.
Yeah, of course. I think there's a couple of practical elements that, regardless of the industry, even as an accountant that works with business owners as my day job, transitioning from being employed to self-employed can be a really big jump. And one thing that you can do to sort of buffer that, and by buffer, I'm generally talking about cash flow, is mainly the reason people can't jump with 2 feet into being self-employed, is contracting and taking short-term contract jobs. So you could be contracting at a company 1 or 2 days a week, or for a couple of months, just to build up some cash flow to jump in. And I think also as British people, like, money is a really big topic for us, and I think money and confidence go hand in hand. So if you are in a position to be able to build up some cash reserves behind the business, that will give you a little bit of the headspace and the breathing room that you need to grow the business without having to take every client that comes to you or chase them or chase after work. So having a cash flow buffer and being able to build that up can be really good. And again, a lot of people work full-time, working a day job whilst in the evenings and weekends building up a portfolio. And then once that portfolio is big enough, transitioning over and working in the business full-time. And that's what we did. I would say as well, one of the biggest benefits about being an accountant and running your own business is that people need their accounts done every year. So once you've gained a client, once they are your client next year. So your portfolio is recurring income. We are not builders or electricians where we do a job and move on, do a job and move on. It is recurring income. So your portfolio value, you want that to get to a value that you can live on. And then when that happens, you can take the jump and move forward. I would say in terms of confidence, there's so many things you could do. There's so many lovely, like specifically online platforms. I know even the AAT group, there's loads of comments and conversation happening over there. Instagram platforms and Instagram groups, things like that. So on the accountancy Instagram platform, a really big chunk of my following is accountants, trainee accountants, or people that want to start their own business, just to sort of be in the same bubble as people. And I would also really encourage you to not see other accountancy practices as competitors, and actually see them as your peers and a place of support. So lots of people reach out to me on the accountancy Instagram page, and I have conversations with them, and like we ping voice notes back and forward. I'd say embrace and lean into networking with other accountants and other business owners, so that if ever you encountered a question and confidence is an issue of yours, you have some other people to say, oh, like, what did you do about this? Or with Brexit and VAT changes, we're all encountering it for the first time. So building up a support network of people around you to lean on is going to be really important. I'd encourage you to do that.
Awesome advice. Hope that helped answer your question, Louise. And also, come from an AAT perspective, you can actually start offering bookkeeping services on a self-employed basis once you've completed your level 3. So if you've got your AAT QB, you can then apply for a bookkeeping license. So you can even start running your own business from level 3. And then if you want to then divulge into operating with accountancy related services, finish your level 4 and you become a full member. So there's lots of routes as well to continue with AAT after level 4. So Teresa's got a good question here. She has asked, how would I go about finding a position that I could give some time to voluntarily to gain some experience? Beth, have you got any feedback for Teresa?
Yes, well, if you're looking to do something voluntarily, reach out to as many people as you possibly can. This is actually something that Rachel, Joe and I were discussing the other day, because, sometimes people who are just looking to gain any sort of experience, this is the route to go down. A lot of people might apply to firms and say, I'm happy to just get some experience voluntarily. But sometimes you might need to go to a charity or something like that where they have lots of volunteers, because they're more likely to accept your offer. So something that I did when I first started my AAT qualification before I got into my firm, I have a family member who runs brownies and guides and looks after the accounts for those. And I just started helping her with bank recs. And that's the start of gaining some experience. So go to the local RSPCA or Oxfam or whoever it might be and reach out to them. And that is the best advice that I can give, is go out and seek these places. because they won't come to you. So go out and seek them for yourself.
I think that's excellent advice. I think getting some voluntary experience in is obviously a great advantage to pop on your CV. Even if you don't have the immediate people that you know in your family or friends, and that might be able to offer you some help. Like you said, Beth, there's going to be loads of organisations around you which might be screaming for help for any like voluntary work. So take a look online for that. Don't know if I think you had a bit of really good advice as well, didn't you, Rachel, in terms of gaining some experience on a voluntary basis?
Yeah, I think for us as a practice, it's something that quite a lot of people do reach out and say, like, please, can I just go and work for you? And I think for us, that's the sort of passion and enthusiasm we're looking for to hire. So if people reached out to us and said that, we would actually say, we don't want you to come work for free, like, come and work with us. Like, please send us your CV. It is really difficult, and it can feel really frustrating. And I think Beth said it earlier, like, just keep going. Like, the right thing will come at the right time. And I know that is probably really unhelpful for a lot of people, but it really, really is the case. So just keep going.
Brilliant, thanks so much. Got a question here from Michael. So he said, what chance is there for me who was made redundant from an accounts receivable position, completed AAT level 3 and started level 4, but can't seem to find a job? So I'll put that open to both of you if you had any tips for Michael there.
Yeah, I'll jump in first. This is amazing. You've got experience, you've got a qualification, like you've already been doing it before. I think we are in unprecedented times, and it is really difficult, and we are seeing record levels of unemployment, so it is very, very difficult. But I'd say if your CV came across our desk, we'd be very interested. So you tick all the boxes. You know, you've got experience, doing a qualification, and I'd say, if possible, use your time while you're not applying for jobs to just crack on and get as many exams passed as possible. Maybe I think that would really help you boost your confidence and help you feel like you're still moving forward, even though the job situation isn't moving forward. I'm not sure if Beth has any other tips.
I think the only thing I would add on to that, other than what we've already said of, just keep trying and trying and trying, is now that we are unlocking again across the nation, and hopefully across the world as well, that businesses will start to open up again. I'm sure there's lots of new businesses that are going to be starting out of the end of the pandemic. So actually, hopefully there will be more opportunities, be it in industry or in practice. So as we've said before, keep looking, keep applying. It'll come at the right time.
Brilliant. Yeah, keep going, Michael. Thank you so much both for answering Michael's question there. So this one, quick one. So Majid has said, what's the difference between ACCA and AAT? Are they the same? So coming from myself, who works at AAT, they're not the same, no. So if you're doing an ACCA, you're normally then training up for chartered accountancy. Do you guys want to give a bit more feedback, having studied both? Beth, you're currently doing ACCA, am I right?
I am. So I, since I qualified AAT last September, I am now currently an ACCA student. They are different. They're different qualifications, different levels of qualifications. So correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but I believe the official qualification after AAT is you're a qualified accounting technician. Whereas once you have qualified ACCA, you would become a qualified chartered accountant. Doing AAT before ACCA was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. Having an AAT qualification grants you a certain amount of exemptions from ACCA exams, and also gives a great baseline of knowledge. So if that's really sort of the main differences from my perspective. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Rachel.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think it's a question that a lot of people have. And it is one of those things that because I remember Googling it and like trying to do research when I was deciding on a qualification, it's quite like you can't really get a straight answer on the internet of like, I just wanted to know like what job title will I have? Like Beth says, what can I call myself? What will I be once I'm done? And I think the best way to explain it, especially in the UK, is it's almost like the difference between GCSEs and A levels. So AAT provides you with an amazing overview, a foundation. You're covering all of the topics that give you a solid overview of exactly what's going on. And then you can use AAT as a platform to go up and then go towards ACCA. Like Beth said, one of the best bits is that you can actually use AAT to get exemptions from, I think it's between 3 and 4, depending on some of the optional modules that you've done. So if you are currently doing AAT and you're doing AAT level 4, have a quick look, because depending on whether or not you want to do CIMA, ACA or ACCA, depending on which optional modules you do, you can actually get 4 exemptions rather than 3. So one of the exemptions are one of the best bits. Yeah, and it also gives you some letters after your name whilst you are doing ACCA. But again, ACCA means that you are a chartered accountant. You can sign off chartered accounts. You can have a chartered accountancy practice, which with AAT, you can run an accountancy practice, but you won't be a chartered accountant and you can't sign chartered accounts.
Perfect. Thanks for explaining that, guys. And we have quite a lot of members who are full members with us and also a member with ACCA or CIMA, and they get reduced membership with us too. So there's lots more avenues to go down once you've completed your AAT qualification. Good questions come in here from Chris. So he said, what advice would you have for someone like myself who is changing career at 47 years old? Ideally like to work as an accounting assistant, but I'm worried that my age and salary expectations might put employers off. He said, also, I don't have any experience of working in an accountancy practice or firm, and all the roles, seem to ask for this. Beth, did you have
I would love to, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it, Rachel.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I was just going to say, so the first apprentice we ever hired was in their 30s with no experience. So I would really, really encourage you to just keep going. I think for some people, as Beth said, you can't discriminate on age, but do not let it put you off. I think for a lot of people, that age would actually be really attractive because you're very settled, you want a job, like you want consistency. With people that are at the very beginning of their career, a concern, and I don't mind saying it, sometimes a concern is you might only be here for a few years, and actually for a lot of the time, with age comes the need financially and for lots of different reasons to stay somewhere for a really, really long time. So for many reasons, like any age has its pros and its cons, and like, please, speaking from first-hand experience of someone that has hired someone that is a little bit older, someone with no experience that is older, like, do not let it put you off. I think it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage to change your career when you are a little bit older, and even to start studying again, I think is a really, really brave thing. So again, if I saw your CV, I would think you were pretty cool. So I don't know if Beth has anything to add.
Yeah, no, the only thing I would add on to that is people who feel that they're older see changing career as a disadvantage because they're older. And actually, there are so many advantages of being older. So I really think that we need to flip this round and think, okay, I'm a bit older, this is going to be good, because think of all the life experience that you have and so many scenarios that you can relate to. So yeah, let's turn this I'm worried about being a bit older into I'm a bit older, so it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, and great advice there. A question that hasn't actually been answered, but I think it's really good to touch on, is interviews. So it's that dreaded word, interviews. I don't think any of us like going for them, but it is unfortunately something that we have to do. And obviously with everything that's going on, there's a lot more remote or video call interviews. Do you both have any tips in terms of what people can take away in how to succeed in interviews? Rachel, do you want to kick off, maybe even coming from like an employer perspective?
Yeah, I think from the interviewee's perspective, someone that is going to an interview, the best bit of advice anyone ever told me, and it massively shifted my mindset when I was going for interviews, was never forget that it's not a one-way interview. Like, as much as they're interviewing you, you are also interviewing them to see if you would like to work there. And don't ever forget that it is a two-way street. So from your perspective, always remember that. Like, it's not like a given that you will like it, you'll get a good vibe, you'll think it's somewhere that you want to be. So always remember it is a two-way street. And then from the employer's side, one of my biggest things is preparation. So I love to see people that have done research on the company. They know who we are, like they know about us, they know what sort of clients we deal with, they know our size and our background. So, and again, that's something that I always used to do. Was I always used to spend like half an hour on Google, on their website, so I could go in it, and if anything was said, you can sort of like drop in a little, oh yeah, I saw that on your website. And then from the employer's side, you just think, right, this person really wants this. Like, they've already invested some time doing some research, they know who we are, and it just shows that you really want it. So preparation is key.
Perfect. Bev, did you have any interview tips that you wanted to share?
Yeah. The first thing that I would say is going into any interview and the day of, or the build up, the night before, just try and remain as calm as possible. I know we can get all worked up and stressed about an interview. And just remember, at the end of the day, you're talking to a person or two people, and they only want you to be yourself and your best self. So if you go into your interview feeling calm, knowing what you want and what you want to say, and just answer it as yourself. Otherwise, nerves can really take over and turn it into something that, a version of ourselves that actually we don't want to present to a potential employer. So my first bit of advice would be try and stay as calm as possible. And another thing is be honest. It's sometimes there's a feeling of I have to have an answer for everything and I have to have an example and my answer must be correct. And in a conversational interview, if they say to you, can you give me an example of when, that might be something that you've never come across. And I think they would prefer you to say that. And then like Rachel say, it's a two-way conversation. So you can say, well, I haven't actually come across that before. Is there another example I can give you? Or I haven't come across this before, but this is something that I hope to come across in the future with you. Because when we start making up stuff, it can become awfully complicated and then you get a little bit lost in yourself as well. So, my two biggest pieces of advice are try and stay calm and be honest, because you both want something good to come out of it.
I think on the honesty as well, it's really important to say, like, if I've really struggled with nerves and I had it all the way through my AAT with my exams, and I'm a really nervous person, and it's because I care so much. So if you are someone that gets really nervous because you really care and you really want it, like, that's not a bad thing. But on the honesty piece, say, I'm really sorry, I'm really excited to meet you guys, so I am really, really nervous. And also, don't forget that as people that are interviewing, we can tell when people are nervous, and we always take that with a pinch of salt. And so if someone does sort of like stumble or can't quite think of an answer, it's not like a driving test and you've failed. We're all humans, and actually, if you're nervous, it shows that you are you're taking this really seriously. So, yeah.
And I think
turn
it's also
those nerves, if you do get those nerves, turn it into excitement, like say, Rachel. Turn it around.
Exactly. And I think it's also great to ask some questions yourself as well, being an interviewee. So use that as an opportunity. And also, I think it shows your enthusiasm for working for the company and your interest. We've got a recent blog that was released as well on our AAT comment blog, which goes all the way through some great tips for interview skills. So it is getting on to nearly the time we have to finish up. Let's do a couple last questions before we go. So we've got one here from Zara. So Zara has asked, what are the best kind of jobs to apply for someone who is studying AAT and has administration experience? So I'll open that to the floor if either of you, has any tips for Zara there.
I think Beth has already referred to her colleague who actually started as an administrator in an accountancy practice and then moved over. So that's a really, really great way. And again, like, we're hiring for an administrator at the moment, and we would be super open to taking someone that wanted to be an accountant one day, but actually just wanted to sort of be like by osmosis, just like be in the industry and learn more. But again, administration experience, there are so many transferable skills. Like, you have to have a really good attention to detail, you have to be a problem solver, you have to have like customer service experience. So there's so many skills within an administrative role that you can transfer over to being an accountant. And the apprenticeship that I did was a business administration apprenticeship, and I actually did my AAT at night school, so that is also something that you could do if you're in an administrative role and you're doing AAT at the same time. Like, put together, that is a great package. So don't feel like it's not, because it really is.
I would just echo everything that Rachel says. There's a lot of skills and things that you do in an administration role that you can transfer into an outsourcing role or a bookkeeper or an accounts assistant, whatever it may be. So again, that's another example, going right back to the start of this chat, is that they are all transferable skills.
100%. You can just try and list the areas which you might not think are directly to do with accountancy, but you'll see that there's so many skills that are. So take some time to have a look through maybe what you've previously done. Let's get on to the final question for today. Thanks so much for everyone who submitted all their questions. And we're sorry we might not have time to go through all of them. We're trying to answer as many as we can after the stream. So Alex has asked, hi everyone, I've applied for various accounting jobs. I noticed nowadays that employers used compliance tests. I had already 2 interviews where I had to be tested on bookkeeping knowledge and VAT. Is that usual nowadays? Don't know if either of you have experienced that too.
So we actually do skills test our employees, and again, we would only have a skills test at a second interview. So again, the first interview, we're a bit nervous, they're a bit nervous. It's more of a very informal chat, just to get to know each other and to see if we feel like it's going to be a good fit. If at that point it is, it's worth saying, I wouldn't skills test someone that doesn't have any experience, because I think that's a bit mean. We would only skills test someone that has industry experience, and we really want to just sort of test their knowledge. And again, I would also say, if you are being skills tested, don't think it's something that you're going to pass or fail. A lot of the time, from an employer's perspective, we skills test people to either see which team they would sit well in, see which manager they would work best with, and actually see how they learn or how they react to being in a situation. So the first thing is it's not a pass or fail scenario. And the second thing is, for a lot of the time, it's actually not much to do with the person that we're skills testing. It's actually more about us placing you in the right place with the most support, with the right team, with the right people. So don't think too much about it. And if they are skills testing you, it's probably because they think you are a pretty good candidate.
Thanks so much, Rachel.
I was lucky enough not to ever have to have any of those tests. But no, all I would say is, if that does seem to be a common theme that comes up, then maybe just expect it in future applications. And then obviously if it doesn't come up, then it's a bonus.
Brilliant. And thanks so much, guys. Hope that answered your question, Alex. So we could sit here all day and talk about career. So you guys have got some amazing advice for everyone. But yeah, like I said, we've run out of time now. So thank you everyone for all of your questions that you submitted. Keep them coming in, and we'll try and answer as many as we can after. Just before we say bye to you guys, Rachel, did you want to tell our audience a bit about, I think you've got a really good, useful YouTube channel, haven't you, that gives some tips?
Yeah, of course. So accountant_she, you can find me on Instagram, where if you didn't get your question answered by us today, you can ask me again, and I would love to either DM you, I can send you a voice note, and we can have a chat about any questions that we didn't get through to today. So it's accountant_she on Instagram, and on YouTube Like I said at the beginning, I've recently done a YouTube video on how to get a job if you've got no experience, what an accountant is, and you can even come to a client with me and see what being an accountant is really like. So I would love to see you. And again, yeah, if you didn't get your question answered, I'm more than happy to have a chat.
Thanks so much. So again, massive thank you, Beth and Rachel, for joining us again. Hopefully we get to have you back again with us soon. Guys, we're going to have another study support related session, hopefully in May. So dates to follow, so keep an eye on our AAT Facebook page. And we wish everyone who's looking for work all the best in securing it. Keep going, keep that motivation going, you will get there. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Take care and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.